Hey guys, what's going on? Today I'm gonna do a little battle of the beauty blenders. I have the original beauty blender and I have the L'Oreal sponge that is a dupe for this guy. I feel like this has gotten a lot of hype lately, so I've been using it for the past few weeks. I'm gonna go ahead and do a demo to show you what they look like. So I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. If you're interested in seeing how the L'Oreal sponge holds up to the beauty blender, please keep watching. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about texture. I do like the texture of the beauty blender better than the L'Oreal sponge. I just feel like the L'Oreal sponge has more of that like cheapy feel that the beauty blender dupes have, if that makes sense. But with that said, I do think that the L'Oreal sponge does apply a little bit faster than the beauty blender. I mean, you could see the difference here. Please pay no attention to the cat hair. It just has a little more surface area. I do think that the Beauty Blender, however, is way better for concealer. So let's just go ahead and do a quick demo. Let me get my hair out of the way. As you can see, I've already started my eye makeup. So I'm gonna just spray some of my Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Water that I'm now obsessed with on my face. And I'm gonna go ahead and start applying. I'm gonna use the L'Oreal Pro Glow today in 205 because I have a little bit of a tan. It's also Saturday, the day before Easter, but for some reason my family celebrates Easter the day before. So this is how much I'm gonna put on this side. And we'll do this side of my face with the L'Oreal sponge. This might be a little bit much actually, but I think that the L'Oreal sponge does absorb a little bit more product than the Beauty Blender does. Not like a crazy amount more where I'd be like, oh my God, this is such a turn off, you should go with the Beauty Blender. But I do think that it does absorb slightly more product. I usually don't do my eye makeup before I do my base, so this is weird. I need to remember, you put on eyeshadow, so be careful. So, I mean, I'm basically like done with my base already. I really do think that the surface area of the L'Oreal sponge and the price point, because I think this was like $7 or $8 versus the Beauty Blender, which is like 20 something. I think this is a lot faster, but you'll see when I apply on the other side. I think the finishes are pretty much the same as well, but you'll see when I apply on the other side, I just think that this absorbs a little more product. You could see right there. Oh, and that's lovely. It's starting to rip. I've only had this for like 3 weeks and it's already starting to rip. That's kind of a downside to it. I didn't even realize that. And I'm not very aggressive with my sponges when I clean them. So let's go ahead and do the other side with the Beauty Blender. I'm gonna apply the same amount of product. Just kind of do a little like, boop. And we'll start applying. Why do I do that every time? Come on, Brittany, get your shit together. So you can kind of see, I already see that coverage is a little more full on this side than the other side. And I mean, sponge application in general is just quicker for me. And I feel like it just looks more natural than when you use a brush, you know? And I mean, clearly, because this bottom of the L'Oreal sponge is a little bit bigger than the Beauty Blender, it's gonna be a little bit faster. That just is obvious, you know? But I mean, I'm basically done with this side. I just feel like the texture of the Beauty Blender is a little more dry than the L'Oreal sponge, and it just helps with application. I don't know if that's like a real downside, but I just feel like it feels better than this. Like the L'Oreal sponge is almost there, but they need to get the technology like this Beauty Blender to make it perfect. So this is the application on both sides. Let me just check myself out really quick to make sure everything's blended. Yeah, so that's the application on both sides. Beauty Blender is on this side, L'Oreal sponge is on this side. Let me just quickly turn so you could see. I mean, I think they look exactly the same. I think there might be slightly more coverage, like I said, on the Beauty Blender side, but it's not anything that's like huge or crazy. Like if the L'Oreal sponge was in your budget, I think you can do just fine with that rather than the Beauty Blender. Let me quickly apply my concealer so you can see I definitely like the Beauty Blender better for concealer. It's just easier to like get into your eye area. I definitely prefer that. I do think I wanted to mention that the L'Oreal sponge does clean a little easier than the Beauty Blender. I think the Beauty Blender holds on to the product a little more. I've noticed that over the past couple weeks as I clean them. I can kind of like pass the L'Oreal sponge under the sink a couple times and it'll be pretty clean, but the Beauty Blender, I really have to hold it under there for a while. So Beauty Blender, I'm just gonna use that on the chin. Sorry if that irritates you, but it's kind of hard to use two different sponges. And on the upper lip. So this is how quickly I can kind of get in and use the Beauty Blender. It's so weird having eye makeup on. I'm so used to like applying my concealer above my eye there. And I like to use my finger in the inner corner just because I think the heat helps apply a little bit better. And then let me do the other side with the L'Oreal sponge. So you're covering a bigger surface area once again. I just feel like it's harder to get like in this inner corner, at least from my eye shape. You know what I'm saying? I like the pointiness of the Beauty Blender better. I'll go ahead and just use the L'Oreal sponge down the nose. Okay, so that's concealer application, Beauty Blender side, L'Oreal sponge side. Again, the finish looks pretty much the same. I just think I can get the job done quicker with the Beauty Blender. So let me go ahead and set everything, apply the rest of my makeup, and I'll meet you back here and give you my final thoughts. Okay guys, I put the rest of my makeup on and then I made breakfast, so I took a little break here, but this is what everything looks like. I think both sides look exactly the same. So let me give you my final thoughts on the L'Oreal sponge. There goes my cat. Let me quickly move him. Stinkers, you wanna be in the video? Hey, you wanna be in the video, little man? He like constantly wants to be near me, so he climbs on things to try to get near, huh? I love you. Anyway, final thoughts on the L'Oreal sponge versus the Beauty Blender. I will say I have definitely been grabbing for the L'Oreal sponge more because it's quicker, because it has a bigger surface area to apply. However, when it comes to concealer, I am definitely still loving the Beauty Blender. I think you can get the same finish with both sides. You saw from the video. I feel like the Beauty Blender does give a slight bit of more coverage because it doesn't absorb as much as the L'Oreal sponge. But once again, I know I say this in like every video, it all goes back to your budget. If your budget allows for the $7.99, something like that, L'Oreal sponge, you can do basically the same thing as the Beauty Blender, which is like 20 something dollars. So it all depends on budget. It all depends on preference. If you have a bigger eye area than me, this might be better for getting under the eye, but you can always go back to your fingers. Like I said in the video, I think that the L'Oreal sponge cleans a little bit easier. I think that it takes a little more time to clean the Beauty Blender. And I do feel like the L'Oreal sponge, the only way I can describe it, like I said prior, is it feels just a little bit more like those like cheaper dupes feel for beauty blenders. The L'Oreal sponge is definitely the best dupe I have found. Of all the like dupes for beauty blenders that I've tried, and I've tried a lot, I definitely prefer the L'Oreal sponge. I even prefer it over the Real Technique sponge. Don't like that it's ripping, but my beauty blender is ripping as well right here. So I'm pretty gentle with these, like really gentle. So I mean, I guess that's just something that you have to deal with. And if they're both gonna continue to rip like this, granted I've had beauty blenders for the last few years and I've just been repurchasing them, you might wanna consider getting the cheaper alternative, which is the L'Oreal sponge. So I hope this was helpful to some of you. Like I said, I think you can get the same exact application with both of them. My heart still does lie a little bit more with the Beauty Blender, even though I've been using the L'Oreal sponge a little more. I've also been using the L'Oreal sponge a little more because I wanted to do this review. I've been using it for like 3-ish weeks now, and I've been purposely grabbing for this guy, but my heart still does lie with the Beauty Blender. But if your budget only allows for the L'Oreal sponge, go ahead and pick it up. I'm sure you will be happy with it. So I hope this was helpful to some of you. If you guys have any questions, as always, please leave them below. What's in my eye? Straight up hair in my eye right now, and I can't get it out. Ow, or like eyelash hair. Like I was saying, if you have any questions, please leave them below. I would love to answer them. Otherwise, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It means the world to me. I post about 2 videos a week, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.